Alright, like I said last time, I couldn't get through all the stuff that had been announced or leaked, so I think we're just going to be continuing on this train. So, at this point, we have about 1 month to get roughly 1,150 subs before the channel's 2-year anniversary just to hit even 9K, and my sub growth is still plummeting. It's at half of what it was just 3 weeks ago. So, if you enjoyed this video by the end, please consider subscribing. Your likes, give them to me, and if you can, share my stuff with a friend or any online group you think would enjoy my stuff. Or, hell, give me some of those hate watchers. Those help too. I can only hit this goal with the assistance from you guys. All I can do is make the videos as interesting and entertaining as possible. You have the real power here. Anyways, let's talk about the figure that you've all been dying to hear about for 2 straight news videos. The figure that came out just too late to be included in the previous one, and the one I just didn't have the time to fit into Sunday's video. You know it, lots of you hate it, I talked shit about it when we first saw those prototypes. It's Masterpiece Jetfire. And let me say, they didn't change a lot between this and the prototype. Like, aside from getting a few details sculpted in, a face, and some colors, this thing is exactly what we saw last time. So what business does this have looking so much better than it did before? And the funny thing is, the new face really isn't helping. Like, that's pretty awful. It's so weirdly scrunched up into the lower middle quarter of his head with the way too big chin, and I guess it kind of looks G1 accurate, but like, barely, and it's still terrible. I'm not too horribly broken up about this because the Fans Toys head was way worse. Though I am kind of annoyed that we've had 3 serious takes on this character now, and the Siege one with its extraordinarily sinister face is easily the best one. Looking at this side by side with the Fans Toys figure, it becomes pretty apparent that that thing wasn't very accurate to the show, which you may prefer, and that's fine. But this is now here for people who wanted something a little closer to what they saw growing up, and I will profess a preference for what I'm seeing here myself. Though, time will tell if it's actually decent. I know a good few people are frustrated, understandably so, that the cockpit doesn't fold in half to allow for a waist swivel, but I'm actually weirdly pleased by that. Normally, I'd rail against the loss of articulation, but we've had Skyflyer work like that twice before, and I don't know why, but it seems really satisfying to have it be just one long solid piece. The face mask head kind of confuses me since he never had that in any format. I get that it's a reference to the Valkyrie, but it doesn't look like a Valkyrie, like, at all. And those biceps are insanely skinny. Boy hates him some arm day, let me tell you what. That is an incredibly awkward pose to get him looking down his sights, but hey, we can see he's got forwards butterflies and automatic kneecaps. This gap at the top of his cockpit in alt mode really bothers me though. That's a weird little glitch in the design. But I absolutely adore that they are implying he's as big as I always felt like he was. Ever since I was a kid, for some reason, I thought Skyfire was titanic, large enough to carry all of the Autobots into battle. And it seems like this toy agrees with me, because he comes with what looks to be pretty decent minifigures of Optimus, Jazz, and Wheeljack, implying that he's absolutely colossal. Alternate faces are pretty ugly, and I don't know about the stand being bronze, cause that really doesn't color match the arc, though I like what I see with this figure. But let me tell you what I don't like, the designer. A lot of people are really excited that they got one of the most important designers of the original Diaclone line to create this thing. But did everyone forget that all his figures kinda sucked? Like, for the time they were below average, and this was way back when the way you designed a toy was by whittling it out of wood. This is like Michelin hiring the caveman who invented the wheel to make their new ultra-smooth ride tires, and everyone getting really excited about that. I mean, put some respect on the man's name, he does still deserve it being the guy who designed the first Diaclone ever, but at the same time, I'm just praying that he's getting given credit for a ghost designer's work. Because if not, I don't expect this to turn out very well. Maybe the guy only got better with 4 decades between his heyday and now, and managed to keep up on the modern programs used for designing figures, but let's just say that I'm skeptical that that's the case. I'm cautiously optimistic that this figure could be good, and I find it absolutely hilarious that this thing is twice the size of MP44, yet it's still like $150 less. God, MP 3.0 Optimus was such a grift. This is also cheaper than the Fans Toys Phoenix, which I also find to be absolutely hilarious. Then it's been leaked that we are getting the reissue Pterosaur. It's probably going to be way too much, like near Voyager price, but damn it, I'm still here for this. Then it's been leaked that we're getting Beast Wars Transmetal Iguanas. Maybe the leak is wrong, and I did love the Transmetal figure as a kid, having it for one of the longest of all my original Beast Wars figures, but I can't help but feel like it's really weird to do Transmetal Iguanas and not the normal version first. And where is the Dinobot re-release already? We don't have a Dinobot or even a Waspinator yet, but we're already getting stuff like Iguanas and Wolfbang, which I thought was supposed to come out at the same time as Cybershark, but I guess not because all I can find at stores are Cybershark. I really want the reissues to do well because I need them to do every last one of the original figures. I need it! Then the last thing that we're going to talk about that I have actual pictures of is the Joy Toy 4-foot-tall Metroplex. Is the child inside me just dead or something? Because while I recognize that this is a cool idea, all it sounds like is a pain in the balls to me. Who has the space for a 4-foot toy? That's like having an entire static child in the middle of whatever room it's in. It probably costs a fortune. Why is the joy in my soul just dead at this point? This should be so cool, and it does look good. Like, I've got no interest in the Fans Toys Fort Max, but this has me at least considering it. I mean, if Like Toys isn't just Fans Toys in disguise again, then this will probably be something on the order of half of what the Fortress Maximus will be, and Metroplex has the way cooler look, but seriously, Titans need to fold out like Mighty Max or Polly Pocket into cities, and while this does a much better job than any other Titan I've ever seen in space mode, having parts that look like actual skyscrapers, the sitting down robot mode that's supposed to be a spaceship is as lame as ever. I really wish every one of the Titans would ditch the third mode and just focus on being a city block that stands up. That's the cool part of the whole concept, not some vague notion of something that could maybe pass for a spaceship if you really use your imagination. And again, this is the size of like a 13-year-old kid. Where would I put this thing? And would its build even stand up to having that much weight? Everything is going to need to be on extreme ratchets in order for this thing to hold together. And at that point, this thing is going to be a pain to move. Though it would just be a pain reaching for every part of this thing, they're all so far away from each other. Oh, the light and childhood wonderment has just left my soul and I'm a bitter husk of an old man. It looks good, I do want it, I need a Metroplex, but where the fuck would I put this thing? Now I'm no longer going to have images for any of the things I'm talking about, because the end of this video is reserved for covering the leaked listings that just got dropped. At this point, I'm not even going to say that you should treat these with a grain of salt, since the leaks over the last couple of years have proven to be 100% accurate. So Legacy Year 2, is it just going to be called that when the time comes? Who knows? But these are the figures that we can expect as of right now. Voyager Leo Prime. I mean, it was going to happen at some point. Can't help but notice we don't have a Silverbolt, Quick Strike, Rampage, Depth Charge, Tigerhawk, or any of the transmetals, but no, let's just jump right into the terrible Japanese stuff. Screw the actually well-written American characters, we got weebs to feed. To keep you guessing, I'm jumping down to Core Class, Slag, and Sludge. Hey, I'm always down for both more Core Classes and more Dinobots. Excited to see what they do with these, and they're going to scale with the Slash that was released in the Power of the Primes at least. Core Sound Blaster is obviously going to be the Kingdom Soundwave in black with maybe a bigger chest window. Not sure what the Deluxe Junkion is going to be, considering all the Junkion should be about the exact same size. Maybe it'll be like an IDW Rummage, or maybe a retool of the Siege Hound as Detritus. Deluxe Hotshot also has a more than zero chance of just being the Siege Hound again. Deluxe Shadow Striker I can see being another retool of the 86 Jazz. Voyager Hot Rod is probably going to be the 86 Hot Rod as well, which I don't know why they do that, considering they've already re-released that thing like 4 times in 86 alone. Why do they need to have it in Velocitron? Like, if this were a deluxe, I would think that maybe it's a different mold, but it's a Voyager again. Seriously, just give it less accessories, Hasbro. They're already shelf-warming to hell and back since you've overproduced them. I have no idea what LDR2 is going to be. Is that like a sequel to Leader 1? I only guess that because Crasher is in there, so maybe Hasbro is introducing more GoBot stuff into the franchise. A lot of people theorize that Crasher is going to be a Kingdom Mirage retool, and honestly, that body probably fits her a bit more than it ever did Mirage, so I can totally see that being the case. Then there's Project Top Gun 2, and I'm not sure if that means the original Maverick toy they released for the second Top Gun movie, or if it means a second Top Gun project, but it's probably the former. I know a lot of people are going to be excited about this. Prime Sky Quake. The question I have for this is this going to be its own mold, or is it going to be a retool, and if it is, what is it going to be a retool of? Hopefully not the Earthrise Seeker mold, though I could see them maybe using the Maverick mold for it. Proportions aren't right, but I do think they share a few design similarities. Armada Megatron. Alright, give us more Armada stuff. And where is that Optimus that we saw years ago already? Please don't let this just be a Siege or Earthrise retool. I can totally see them doing that. Deluxe Needlenose. They are finally releasing the Needlenose that they probably had designed ever since the Siege vote that Impactor so unjustly won. If I had to guess, I'd say there's a good chance that it's a heavily retooled Siege Seeker. I mean, that would fit his alt mode extremely well, but he's a Deluxe, so maybe if they're smart, they'll use the TR Trigger Happy as the base for it, like they did with the TR Blur and 86 Blur. That Trigger Happy really deserves to be more influential than it is. Lastly, the figure you've all been waiting for me to talk about. Voyager Tarn. First up, this better not be a retool. You need to let it be its own thing. And secondly, yes, I know I said they'd never use the character of Tarn for kids' media since he's too violent, and you may think that this and his appearance in Cyberverse disproves that. But no, the design is way too good for them to not use. This was going to come back one way or another. He's just too cool to look at. But they will not be using the character. The character who mutilates his enemies for fun is not coming back. They may use his design, he may be an extremely evil bad guy, but that core of serial killer leader of the Gestapo is not appearing in average Transformers media. Now that being said, I hope this figure kicks ass. I really worry that this is going to be a retool of the Siege Megs because it's probably going to be a G1ification, and while I think his IDW design is nearly flawless as it is, I'm not going to complain about the figure fitting into a Chug aesthetic, as long as it gets to be its own thing and the figure is made well. If it's a purple Earth tank, I will be happy. Just don't make it out of the Megatron mold. We've all had way too much of it at this point. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please, share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.